It took me a number of years to be able to understand that actually I was in perpetual states of fear. And I didn't realize that because I didn't know what a peaceful, relaxed, enjoyable life was. And that sounds a bit strange, but I really didn't, because my reality was one that was always fixed in that way. This life that I lead, how I lead it now, and I lead it as much as I can through my heart. I'm more of a head type on the Enneagram, and I'm a type 6. Maybe people could look that up. I've got loads of videos about the Enneagram. But I have to do a lot of work to get out of my head and get into my heart, get into my body. But that was very, very key for me with all the healing. And it is with most people. It is about coming into a state of love. And I know for you, me as an Enneagram type 2, I'm absolutely convinced. And so for an Enneagram type 2, the healing is self-love. And so this, in a way, when I'm working with people, although I work in a different way to you, it's still about a shift in consciousness, and it's still about coming from fear to love. And if people invest in a package of sessions with me, one session, a package of sessions, some clients are up to nearly 50 sessions with me that have been coming for 3 years, it's that that in itself is self-love. I have invested massive amounts of money to do all this training because it's out of self-love, because I was interested in it, I wanted to learn it, I wanted to help people in a way that really made a difference and a change, whereas I had counselling before, and that was very nice to talk to somebody, a very nice French lady who I saw for nearly 2 years, and somebody else, but it wasn't shifting my consciousness as much as this work. And this is like going to see a hypnotherapist, but you're not, zonked out, and they're going, you now feel very relaxed about the world. We're working on specific individual things that someone is in a state of unease about.
Right. Well, this is so much the human dream that we're living in. And it was, when you're talking about fear, it's amazing how fear does really come up and come upon our life in many different ways for each person. And my eye problem too, that was healed, where I had the doctors later said that it was a migraine explode in my eye, and so I couldn't see for a long time. And through prayer, instantly, I had to calm my fears, and I was also sick at the time. And so this was when I was 16.
What was the illness? What was the eye problem?
I was away at boarding school, and there was a lot of discord going on in my family with my mother and my mother's husband now before they got married. They broke up for a while. And my father had just passed the year before.
Lots of things you didn't want to say.
Fighting with my boyfriend who I adored, and we're still really close friends all these years later. And one night I woke up with my ears bleeding, so my brain was bleeding. And I couldn't hear and I couldn't eat, and it was 2 weeks left or a week left of school, and nobody knew that I couldn't eat because I couldn't talk. And they knew that I was sick, and so I didn't get to do a lot of my finals. But when I got home and flew home, the fear was so strong that I kept being in the moment of being on the airplane taking off, that my eyes just all of a sudden, I felt this huge pain, and I couldn't see. And I remember my sister and my mother laughing at me. I was getting out of the shower because I'm just like, trying to make noise and feel my way to my bed. And, I had to close my door because I could barely, I could more energetically feel there thinking that I was messing around instead of being serious. And what I did, because for me, growing up metaphysically, it was, I just put myself back into the alignment of God and kept trying to affirm that I was not separate from the divine at all. So this experience that I was in at the moment was not any part of me. And when I started to realize that and remember, sometimes we have to remember that I've had healings before. Louise Hayes and the religion that I grew up in, Christian Science, are offshoots of each other. And so when you learn how to shift your consciousness that way, you really do create amazing things in your life. So anyway, so doctors have said that it was some type of a migraine. I mean, they don't know because it didn't happen at the moment while they were there and I was in the chair. But later on when I went to see them, that's what I was told. So
I often give my clients the metaphor that we're like a car. So if you're running down, you'd call it a freeway, we'd call it a motorway. So if you're running down that fast lane, you know, and because life is like, if you're in that stressful place, and that motor, which is your body, which is really not wanting to live life like at 100 miles an hour, something's going to go. It's going to be the exhaust, it's going to be a tire, it's going to be the carburetor, it's going to be a valve, something will go. So I've never met anybody who has a disease like something like that. You know, you ask about what's your life like, and the life is stressful. There's something really major going on. There's also a link with I'm going to reference matrix reimprinting, which is something which is a tool which uses EFT to go back to the past. I remember when I was doing a course called EFT in Metamedicine in 2008 with Richard Fluke and Carl Dawson. There was a link with a serious disease manifesting 18 months after a trauma, something happening. It takes, I don't know why it takes that amount of time, but it's not always instantaneous. And I actually remember a client I saw a number of years ago who I didn't treat him for this, but he'd developed Parkinson's, and it was 18 months after his son had been killed. And it manifested literally 18 months. And I know Parkinson's disease, which this book, you look at Louise Hay as well, it's a need to control all of the time. So that trauma would have sent him, he had 2 children, so he lost his son, beloved son. And that would have made, he was a control type, I'm convinced, and would have made him exceptionally controlling. And literally something like Parkinson's disease, which is a lack of dopamine produced by the brain, is a state of consciousness again. And that's very radical to say, but if you can get your head over into this side, it's, you know, does the body make mistakes? Or are we open to that the disease is a state of consciousness? Disease, if we were to say it, was unease. So what are we on? If we were to say, so I've been diagnosed with this terrible disease, you'd go, oh, no, I'm not sure you'd go. Most people would go, oh, that's terrible. Now, if you were to say, Mia, I've been diagnosed with this terrible unease, you'd probably say, what about?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a difference, and that's, you know, hyphenate disease, and look at things in your life that you can create ease around, that need your focus, that need your attention. This says messages from the body. So that is what's going on. What is the message that's being communicated here? And as a coach, which I'm absolutely convinced that you'll be in this state of vibration, it's often we're intuitively picking up on things, but also using a client's intuition to get themselves out of the pit of where they are. You know, sometimes I will say to my clients, they're in this room and they're opposite me. Occasionally, I will say, we'll swap seats, and I'll say, so if you were me, what would you say? And often the answer that they're looking for comes from them. So they ultimately know, well, actually, I need to do this, but I'm terrified of taking this action. And we work on the fear, and then they go away and take action. And it might be incremental. It might be big steps. A lot of healing is self-healing. People aren't empowered enough to know that you can heal, that labels that you are given by professionals are useful, but it doesn't mean that they have to stay labels and that's how it always will be. If you shift your beliefs, you shift your reality and you shift your physical self. Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief, talks about consciousness within the cell. So it's like cellular biology. So the cell is reacting. It's not that the cells in your legs are actually, by working using this kind of tools, whether it's EFT, NLP, you're shifting your beliefs and getting more into states of love. You're changing yourself molecularly. It's that each cell has actually an intelligence of its own. But
it does. That's what I was going to say. Absolutely.
Candice Pert talked about this, bless her, she's passed on now.
It's really amazing how when we shift, all we have to do to begin our process is just first to desire and then to take the action and the steps to move forward. And for those